Here it goes, guys.
Randy, we have a big problem!
We're talking a 60% hit to the business.
Rich people get Ozempic, poor people get body positivity.
We're not here to just make money. We're here to make things fair. And to make some money.
These people think they can just come in and mess with everything we've built. I'm in deep, Stan. I should have never worn this midriff shirt to school.
Tony the Tiger killed Kenny!
After skipping a winter season in order to roll out an election episode in the upcoming fall, South Park has finally delivered its first piece of animated content in 2024 with the 7th Paramount Plus special, The End of Obesity. Also, yeah, I'm ignoring that mid-ass Snow Day game. Give me a third RPG, a Good Times with Weapons style fighter, or nothing at all. In my opinion, this is without a doubt the best special they put out since the start of these streaming exclusive events with post-COVID. While it doesn't feel as grand or cinematic as those specials, it's still a huge step up from the streaming wars or Not Suitable, which just felt like really long episodes of the show, even if I really enjoyed the latter one. And unlike the Panderverse, which I felt like it didn't get as crazy with the multiverse concept as it could have, this special does a great job of escalating its relatively simple premise into complete utter chaos in a way that only South Park can. The social commentary was on its A game. Randy's B story didn't feel disconnected from everything for a change. The cereal mascots added a healthy dose of absurdity, and most importantly, the boys' friendships served as the emotional core of the story. For once, everyone's rooting for Cartman. All of this blends together to create a banger of an event that feels borderline nostalgic. A South Park adventure that we could have gotten in that golden age from the 2000s to early 2010s. I have a mighty need to gush about why this special works so well for me, so kick back and roll up some great integrity as I break down South Park, The End of Obesity. Covering a topic like Ozempic allows this story to involve the entire town in a pretty organic way, as not only does obesity affect people of all ages, but so does vanity. One is clearly screwing over the other though, as Cartman's unable to get a prescription to Ozempic despite his health being on the line. Insurance companies are only paying for the medication if the patients have diabetes, not if they're just trying to lose weight. Being denied a prescription really messes with Cartman. He's vocal about hating the way he looks and feels like he lacks the willpower to make a meaningful change without medication. But Kyle argues that willpower in this instance also includes not just taking no for an answer, being persistent and trying to get a claim filed with the insurance company to get the prescription he needs.
And obesity is a disease. Oprah Winfrey said so.
I didn't realize I was dealing with someone who had so much determination.
This special does a great job at portraying Cartman in a sympathetic light because he's just a kid. If Randy's B story was centered around him trying to lose weight, I think a lot of people would have just gone, "You're a solid bitch." He's a grown-ass man with a thriving business whose health isn't on the line, and evidently he has a much easier time getting his hands on Ozempic than Cartman. Bro gave himself cancer just to score some Luigi lettuce. If he wants to make something happen for himself, he's able to go out and get it. But Cartman doesn't have the income or resources that Randy has. He's like 10. He can't just get his money up. I doubt that ice cream parlor would be paying him enough to afford a prescription. He's a great example of someone who the system is actively failing. Someone who really does rely on something that's become a fad by the people who don't need it. I love seeing Kyle help out Cartman on principle, because we know Cartman has put this boy through the ringer, yet Kyle disregards all of that the moment he sees that Cartman is another victim of the American healthcare system. It perfectly illustrates both his values and his complex dynamic of Cartman. Putting a lot of time and energy going from insurance companies to medical centers to imaging centers back to insurance companies, filling out the same form over and over again, all to help someone who will probably send him anti-Semitic memes the next week. Why? Because Kyle believes helping Cartman is simply the right thing to do. These two really are frenemies. Cal couldn't give up on Cartman if he tried. It's already in his nature to help people, but I think he recognizes that for how evil Cartman is. On some level, there's a troubled kid who could be set on the right path if he got the help he needs. The problem is, aside from the rampant anti-Semitism, Cartman is prone to putting on a facade and acting like he wants to better himself as a person just to get something he wants out of Kyle or other people around him. It's why Kyle questions if Cartman's being genuine when he first sees him bawling his eyes out. He's used to his kindness being taken for weakness by Eric. But once it's clear bro is being genuine, he's willing to go to great lengths to get the guy some help. Even when Cartman is on the verge of relapsing, Kyle's the one to get through to him and convince him to spare his stomach from the horrors of the Oppenheimer.
You know, Cartman, this could be dangerous.
Cartman's past transgressions aren't held against him by Kyle at any point in this special, and it's honestly really admirable. Could it be me? No, but it's admirable nonetheless.
There's celebrities and rich people using these new drugs to lose a few extra pounds, and meanwhile, Cartman's fat as f***ing can't get any help.
Although Ozempic is the focus of the special, this really does feel applicable to just about anything in the world of healthcare. It hit close to home for me personally, reliving various situations where I was either the Kyle or the Cartman, and in both cases, dealing with it sucked. The phone calls, the waiting rooms, all the driving around. It really is a time-consuming process where you start to lose your mind like Butters. And it's maddening, because as Kyle says, the insurance companies, drug companies, and hospitals work together to make these drugs more expensive in America than anywhere else in the world.
That's true. That's like 100%. Everything you said was true.
The snippet of the medical advisor vetoing Cartman's prescription from his yacht really says it all. The medication is ultimately being kept out of his tax bracket.
Fill out these forms.
I just filled them out the last place.
I don't think it's going to be super eye-opening for a lot of Americans, as people have been more vocal than ever about how garbage our healthcare system is. But it's definitely cathartic to see South Park break it down in this way, showing us that not even Cartman should be denied a path to a healthier life because that path is locked behind an absurd price tag. This entire A story really feels like classic South Park. Well, classic in my eyes, which I already gave away as the 2000s to early 2010s. It starts with Butters' song about navigating the American healthcare system, feeling like a nice little throwback. But once Stan and Kenny get roped in, and the boys start making their own obesity drugs, the special really starts recapturing the magic of its glory days. That's not to say it's only good because it panders to my nostalgia, but more so that South Park has always been at its best when all the boys are involved in these larger-than-life adventures where they're in over their heads and wound up entangled with very powerful people who should not be beefing with kids.
Who needs hospitals and insurance when we have TikTok and YouTube?
This tried and true formula lends itself perfectly to the social commentary as well, as although the boys have a whole makeshift lab to create their own weight loss drug, they're just following TikTok tutorials on how to make semaglutide, demonstrating how when the system fails its people, the people will always find another way to get what they need, which is easier to do now more than ever, with people posting tutorials for just about anything online. I'm no expert on the world of bootleg drugs, but I have seen DIY Adderall instructions on my For You page before that look just like this, so deal with that what you will. I love how selfless Cal's motivation becomes here, wanting to make their affordable weight loss drug accessible to everyone as a way to get Big Pharma the finger. It's a great contrast to last season and Cartman's money-motivated agenda in Dick and Boss hot dogs. And in both cases, you have Butters just trying to catch a bag. Neither worked out for him, but third time's a charm, buddy. Hold your head up for season 27. I also like what they do with Cartman in this special. Despite being portrayed in a more sympathetic light, he's still the evil little shit he's always been. And it's awesome! He's not killing his half-brother's parents and turning them into chili, or ruining a little girl's life until she's a carbon copy of him. But his biggest motivation for losing weight is that he'll be able to insult anyone he wants and be racist without consequence. Because what are they gonna clap back with? He's not fat anymore! Even the collective population of Pakistan can't muster a response.
Well, you are a normal person!
It's just so funny how the show effectively makes you feel bad for Cartman due to how relatable his situation is, on top of the fact that he genuinely loathes his body. Yet Cartman winning just means he'll have more confidence to act like a piece of shit. A Cartman story that makes you feel just a tiny bit conflicted tends to be a pretty good one. Yeah, skinny Cartman was a lie. His whole inclusion in the marketing for this special was a misdirect. Clickbait so Paramount Plus could rake in some subscriptions they can flex on their quarterly earnings call. I don't know how I didn't see this one coming when his daydreams and nightmares have been a plot device for eons now. But after Pandaverse, you never know what direction these specials could go in. This design still cracks me up though. They got Cartman looking like Twitter fan art with that hair. It does feel like a little bit of missed potential, but in my opinion, it's saved by the ending of the episode, which we'll get to later. And you know what? This is a good opportunity to get some nitpicks out of the way. So, number 1, where the hell was Scott Malkison in this special? He's like the poster boy for diabetes. His inclusion feels like a no-brainer. We have 50 minutes here, Matt and Trey. Number 2, Kyle has diabetes, but unless I missed a line or two, that never really comes up in this special, which I feel like was another missed opportunity given how invested Kyle becomes in Eric's health.
They say it's his kidneys. Kyle always has been a diabetic, and lately his kidneys have just been shutting down.
Number 3, Cartman eats like utter garbage to the point where I'm surprised he isn't at risk of developing diabetes himself. He eats something called a cereal bomb that's composed of a bucket of KFC, Cocoa Puffs, Captain Crunch, and milk. And there's gravy in that concoction? This is that greed they were talking about in the Bible. You can't tell me he's keeping both his feet after eating this. If you use TikTok, scroll cautiously, because I know for a fact food influencers are going to start mukbanging this health code violation, which I'm sure Matt and Trey are anticipating. You are sick men. But seriously, if anyone knows if Cartman could eat like this regularly and not become diabetic, let me know in the comments. I'm not a know-it-all when it comes to the beaties. It just runs in my dad's side of the family, so I know what's getting me eventually. I exercise and cook my own food regularly, but I microdose Lizzo on cheat days. And on that note, nitpick number 4, Lizzo. Prescribing Lizzo and body positivity to people who can't afford Ozempic is a great joke. Don't get me wrong, but for a topical show like South Park, it feels like this came 4 years too late. Like I wasn't thinking, finally they're digging at Lizzo. I was more like, oh yeah, Lizzo exists. It was kind of a missed opportunity to not either have a recall for Lizzo, or revealing that long-term exposure to Lizzo causes a patient to start having body-shaming ideation. I don't know, maybe they like Lizzo. They said she was a pretty good singer, so they decided to go a little easy on her. Also, Lizzo gives Sharon diabetes so she can go on Ozempic, but not Cartman? I guess he wasn't listening to her music enough to start shitting out his ears. But because this all started with Cartman, you can't help but notice the plot convenience. It's not like Sharon used it anyway. And hey, Lizzo was a good sport about the reference, even if I think she didn't really get the joke.
I just feel like, damn, I'm really that bitch. I really showed the world how to love yourself and not give a fuck, to the point where these men in Colorado know who the fuck I am and put it on their cartoon that's been around for 25 years.
But another area where their special shines is with its central antagonist. Aside from Big Pharma. The cereal and junk food mascots. Representing the sugar companies, we have childhood icons such as Tony the Tiger, the Cocoa Puffs bird, Little Debbie, Captain Crunch, the Twinkies cowboy, and other familiar faces. Feeling threatened by the boys' affordable weight loss drug as it aid in low-income households cutting back on their sugar intake and thus cutting into their profits, the mascots take matters into their own hands to ensure production of this drug comes to a screeching halt. Their inclusion in this special definitely feels like a response to the Kellogg CEO suggesting that poor families should start eating cereal for dinner to combat rising grocery prices. Despite cereal prices rising about 28% over the last 4 years.
So we're advertising about cereal for dinner. If you think about the cost of cereal for a family versus what they might otherwise do, that's going to be much more affordable.
I'm all for innovation and marketing, but the idea of having cereal for dinner, is there the potential for that to land the wrong way?
We don't think so. In fact, it's landing really well right now, Carl.
Yeah, you can't be spotting this garbage when a box of cereal can run you anywhere between $6 to $8 nowadays. It is cheaper to buy a box of one of those gimmicky cereal bars than the regular cereal. Screw you, dude. For $6, I'm picking up some drumsticks or a cheap steak. It's a statement that just reeks of greed and desperation. Just in case you guys forgot, we profit off you fat fucks too. I'm glad his stupid ass said that though. It gave us great material for this episode. I got a kick out of these guys as villains. It's something else that felt like old school South Park, not just taking jabs at celebrities, but other fictional characters. Even their designs feel more simple and straightforward like the older seasons, instead of overly detailed and colored with a ton of gradients like the more modern seasons. Wait, how these member berries get in my mouth? Honestly, the mileage you'll get out of these cereal mascots depends on your sense of humor and how easily amused you are by characters marketed at children doing fucked up things. Usually South Park is one of the few shows that can always do it in a way that's juvenile, but clever enough in the characterizations to get a few laughs out of me, which is a long way of saying Captain Crunch lighting up a factory had me rolling. They add another layer of absurdity to everything that's going on, which helps elevate the scale of the special, especially when we hit the third act. But before we can talk about that, we gotta talk about our beloved drug addict, Randy. While the boys are navigating the American healthcare system, Randy once again becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy as he ends up hanging around the wrong crowd. Those who are using weight loss drugs for their own vanity and are actively dancing around the American healthcare system. And you know what? I can't really see anything wrong here. Of course, they're lying about where the weight loss is coming from, as to not ruin the illusion that hard work and consistency put them back in their prime. But just like real life, everyone knows. This is a pretty stellar B story. Randy's been regressing into a bigger man-child over the show's run, which they use to their advantage to put Randy in the shoes of basically a Degrassi protagonist. A teen wounding up in their own very special episode. A say no to drugs PSA. Except the drugs in this instance is for weight loss and non-addictive? Which doesn't really click with Randy at any point in this episode.
There's like nothing wrong with me!
Wow! You want half a breakfast burrito?
No, I'm good.
I love what they do with the moms of South Park in this episode, serving as secondary antagonists who start genuinely tweaking the moment their waistlines are in jeopardy, resorting to Ocean's 11 level activity to try and get their fix. The escalation is so entertaining to watch. I love how Randy went from trying to cheat on his wife to winding up in an action blockbuster. Aside from the parents of our main squad, it feels like a lot of the moms have just been kinda there for most of South Park's run. So giving them time to act completely unhinged was a good call in my opinion. Definitely didn't expect that when booting up this special. All the moms wearing outfits that expose their midriff so they can show off their abs was killing me. Even when they're out here robbing pharmacies, they gotta have their results on display. Out here looking like Fumiko from Chainsaw Man. Someone in my audience will get that reference. Probably. These Ozempic parties are a real thing, by the way. This is really how all the rich moms in LA spend their Tuesdays. Scrounging up as many injections as they can, and sharing it all with the girlies. Now, I'm not saying I'd pull a Randy and go to one of these parties, but I'm also not saying I wouldn't. If there's one thing I wish this B story shed some light on, it's the side effects of Ozempic that are largely ignored. Like how it can age the hell out of your face. It would have been a great note to end on. Having the moms freak out at the side effects and swearing off the drug. Switching to like plastic surgery parties instead. We have Linda remarking that Ozempic gave her the shits, but that's really about it.
So, Alexis Testerberger just decided to start taking the drugs.
Wait, Wendy's mom is named Alexis? If we're keeping it in a book, this is more of a Randy and Sharon story than exclusively a Randy story. Randy is definitely more of a driving force, but it starts with the both of them giving input on Shelly's outfit. Randy taking the classic dad stance of wanting his daughter to cover up as much skin as possible because he knows how boys are. And Sharon taking the classic mom stance of not wanting her daughter to feel ashamed of herself because of how other people might react to her body, permitting Shelly to wear her crop top to school. Sharon is the one who first encounters all the moms showing off their washboard abs. And she carries the emotional core of this B story on her back, as Randy's deflection and body shaming leads to her actually feeling self-conscious about her body. To which she then goes on Lizzo, develops diabetes, and finally secures a prescription to Ozempic, only to be talked out of her first dose by Randy. She's the center of the B story's through line, and I find it to be a nice change of pace. We have plenty of stories where Randy is an idiot, but I feel like a lot of the time, especially in recent years, Sharon's usually just on the sidelines, waiting for Randy's short-sighted scheme to blow up in his face, or not wanting to be involved with any of it. I'm glad she had the chance to be an actual character here. It makes the end to their storyline all the more satisfying as they just talk things out like adults. A conversation that makes a pretty good point that a lot of people taking these drugs need to hear. No one cares if you're taking Ozempic. I do. No one important cares if you're taking Ozempic. You're a grown-ass adult with your own disposable income. Buy the Aussie if you want. We're not your mother. Just own up to it. Yeah, it's a cheat code. For $1,200, it better be. Your metabolism's never gonna be what it used to. Calorie deficits and hikes are only gonna get you so far in a short time frame, and everyone knows Americans have no patience anymore. You're not fooling anybody with your claims that rock climbing and a gluten-free diet sculpted those abs. Yes, insurance companies are screwing over people who really depend on it. But that shouldn't make it your dirty little secret. You're not perceived as any more of a good person because you're lying about your weight loss method. The pointy needle still went into your skin either way. Own up to the fact you're screwing over the less fortunate, damn it! Sharon doesn't judge Randy for taking Ozempic, and Randy, failing to realize throughout this entire adventure that Ozempic is supposed to curb your cravings, reduces him to bad product, and decides to do some hard shit with his wife in the Holiday Inn. But before we get there...
I should have never worn this midriff shirt to school! Certain things just aren't appropriate to wear!
we have to talk about this insane third act. With everyone trying to get their hands on the semi-glutide, the road becomes rather furious in this Mad Max-inspired chase scene. There's a lot to enjoy about this set piece. You got mascots using cereal to blind drivers, and the moms double dosing Ozempic so they can Hulk out? It's a great time! Not to mention there's plenty of great character interactions sprinkled throughout this brawl, like Butters speaking with his mom, which was something I was keeping an eye out for all episode. We also get our first Kenny death in eons. I know he died in post-COVID, it was the catalyst of that entire special, but we didn't actually get to see it. It broke my heart a bit seeing Cartman trying to hold on to Kenny as Tony the Tiger yanks him out of the car and sends him right to the pearly gates. Another great interaction though. Reminds you that Kenny really is Cartman's best friend. Not too many people are gonna try to save their homie from an anthropomorphic tiger. The punchline to this entire scene had me belly laughing. Definitely the hardest I've laughed at South Park in a minute. It all comes full circle. This is how you do a South Park special, man. If you're not shooting for the stars like the post-COVID specials, where we're getting everyone aged up and placed in a new status quo, this should be the bar in my opinion. The A story and B story were both focused on the same topic, the jokes mostly hit, once again the commentary was on point, and it surprisingly ends with another Cartman victory. Kyle encourages everyone to embrace body positivity, to which Cartman responds exactly how you would expect.
You dress like a bitch! Hello, ma'am, you got a big nose! Hey, do I know you? Fuck you!
Was South Park The End of Obesity another special that felt like a really long episode instead of a cinematic event like the first two specials? Yeah. But, unlike the previous specials, this is the format at its best. No time felt wasted. They gradually upped the ante so the special is constantly building momentum. I really can't envision what a half-hour version of this would look like without losing something good. I think it's the third best special we've gotten so far, right underneath the two post-COVID ones. But hey, maybe you disagree and hated this thing, so why not sound off in the comments? I'd love to hear what y'all think. And if you haven't peeped the special already, this video may have spoiled you extensively, but still check it out. And if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more South Park content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Peace!